Hello, everyone. I missed you. I actually haven't done a post for about a few weeks now. I was actually coming on here to discuss the state of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Um, Unfortunately, not a great start to the season. Obviously, Ben getting hurt and being out for the season is, it's an unexpected blow on an already rough start of the season. And I was just here to lift you up because the sky is falling. What are we going to do now? And then this little ditty comes through tonight. This little gift. I don't know if you can see it. The screen's too less. But Steelers trading for Mika Fitzpatrick. Now, your thoughts on this trade are your thoughts on Mason Rudolph. That's what we've determined. So the people that hate this trade don't feel that Mason Rudolph is going to go anywhere. He's not going to take this team to any winning record or any playoff run or whatever. They think Mason Rudolph's going to fail. And they think this pick could be a top 5 pick that the Steelers could then turn into the quarterback of the future. But Ben already said he's going to honor and fulfill that contract, meaning he's hurt this year. He's signed up for the next 2 at least. He's going to be on this team. So, what do? You're not getting your QB of the future and grooming him for the next 2 years. I personally think our QB of the future is right now. I think it is Rudolph. I think he's going to surprise some people, and the Steelers seem to be confident in that approach as well by going out and making this deal. Now, this deal is not for some journeyman guy, not for some guy that's been around like 26 or 27 years old looking for money. Just a 22-year-old guy that was drafted last year, number 11. A proven commodity. Position flexibility. Can play slot. Can play both safety positions. Can play all over the field. Steelers love that sort of thing. Plus, he has team control for the next 4 years. He has 3 years at a incredibly cheap value. Cheaper than you would have ever signed Sean Davis for. Cheaper than you would have ever got any free agent for. I think each year it's about like around $2 million a season. For that level of talent, look, you can say, oh, they gave up their first round pick. I appreciate a team that went for it and went for it with their starting quarterback being ruled out for the season, no less. So the sky is not falling, Steelers fans. It will get better. And I think Fitzpatrick he's going to be the real deal. And think about what this team has now. They have now 8 first rounders on defense. They are a team that is built for the future. So maybe not necessarily, obviously, the big Ben Windows thing is closed, but you now have a team, at least defensive-wise, secondary-wise, is built for the future. They have team under control, Hayden, Nelson, who Nelson's been incredible. I mean, of all the woe is me signs, Steven Nelson, the Patriots didn't even look at him when they played him. And Seattle only completed 2 passes on him. So far, he's as advertised. So he's been a bright spot. But you have Hayden, Nelson, Edmonds, for better or for worse. But now Fitzpatrick. Sean Davis was going to walk anyway. He's going to want some big money deal. He signed with Rosenhaus. He's going to want some top money deal. Sadly, he ain't worth that. Steelers proved it by going out and making this move. So, your thoughts on this move, good or bad? I love it. I would assume you do too, unless you think Rudolph isn't going to go anywhere and that pick's going to turn into a top 5 pick. I don't. I think that pick would be a middling pick that they would, bring in, because Bud's gone next year. They'd bring in like a Jarvis Jones type, somebody that is one of these, fall from grace guys or these high upside but unproven guys, be in the same fate that they were. This guy's a proven talent and has versatility. So, of all the woe is me things you can say about the Steelers, this Fitzpatrick deal is huge. And I'm thrilled that there's a team that they went for it, that they stared at it. They stared at adversity in the face, and they went, we're going to do something different. Bold. In a youth movement, I'm good with all of these things. I hope it lasts forever. So you can cry about the 0-2 start. Look, they have not had the easiest sled. look at other teams in the division. Baltimore had oh, Lamar Jackson, they're playing so good. Well, I mean, who'd they start out against? Well, they started out against Miami, who's great, and they then had Arizona, who's obviously, I mean, Kyler Murray has shown good things, but here's the thing: they're arguably the two worst teams in football. So Baltimore with this hot start doesn't impress me. See Baltimore come out of the gates with New England and Seattle and see where they're at. Maybe they're 1-1 because I think the Steelers gave up that game in Seattle. I think that was a winnable game that that will bite them in the long run because that game should have been won. So let's talk about the state of the Steelers. Fitzpatrick, I love the move. I think it's fantastic. Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment, leave a message. Let me know your thoughts on the Fitzpatrick trade. I think it's a win. In regards to the state of the Steelers, I was concerned that when Ben got hurt and Connor got hurt in the Seattle game, that Rudolph came in and showed a little bit more zip on the ball than Ben did. I'm concerned that this Ben injury, which obviously now he's out for the year, but this Ben injury was something that happened prior to the Seattle. It said it happened earlier in the week is what officially came out. But who's to say it didn't happen during the New England game? Because he was throwing as much, he could get the ball on the field, but he was throwing some. They weren't the usual zip that he puts on his passes. Rudolph came out with more zip, and truth be told, Samuels came out with more of a burst than Connor did. I like James Conner. I think James Conner, when he is on the field, he's a hard runner. He can make people miss. The problem is he's not on the field a ton and has a great story, but I'm concerned with his long-term durability. I don't know if he can handle the rigors of being an every down NFL running back. And, obviously I'm not saying he should be benched for Samuels. I just say I'd like to see him do a little bit more than what he's doing currently. Nobody really had a good game against New England, with the exception of a rare few. Seattle, Tuitt was making some plays, and then he disappeared in the second half of the game. So he would be on my positive list. He actually showed something. The defensive line, I was hoping would get more burst than more push up front in New England, considering they had some shaky offensive line. I think people that had never started a game. Look, Bud Dupree is useless. He's stealing money from the Steelers right now. I was concerned going into the season, and that he showed things in a couple of preseason games that I thought maybe he had figured it out. It's a contract year. It's the time to make money. And now it's 2 games in, and I saw him one time. I saw Bud one time. It was the sack that he put on Brady. So I saw him once in the New England game, and that's because Brady actually fell into him. Brady fell into him, and that's what caused the sack. And then one time in the Seattle game when he late hit Russell Wilson, because if Bud is good for anything, it's arriving late. He's always late to the tackle. He always runs past the quarterback or gets blocked past the quarterback. Unfortunately, Bud has never shown the capability, the promise of him being a first-round linebacker for me. And, please, someone comment. I want the biggest Bud fan to comment and tell me the positives, because I don't see it. I don't see it. So, good. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is that the Steelers seem to have confidence in Rudolph. They seem to be going for it. The Fitzpatrick deal I felt a great trade. So, there's the bad, which is the same problems that they've run into last year. Terrible clock management. I don't know what Tomlin has to do to get someone who can manage the clock. He called a timeout 10 seconds too late, ended up ending the game in Seattle where they could have got the ball back if he had called a timeout early. His challenge record, which I don't think he's challenged anything this year, at least anything of worthwhile. They got him a challenge coach, and we have yet to see it. Even on plays where I would have argued he would have the ability to challenge and could have won and just hasn't pulled out the flag. Concerned that he might lose again, but he has to pull it out occasionally. Pete Carroll has no problem pulling it out. He should. So there's a concern there. There's a concern with defensive communication. No one wants the green dot. The green dot is the dot that they put on the back of the helmet that actually has a microphone that calls the plays into the huddle. First game, TJ Watt had it, who's an outside linebacker. It should be someone in the middle. But TJ Watt left the field on New England's 2 biggest plays of the game. And I think there was confusion and miscommunication with the players that were in the game. The second game, they decided to put Vince Williams and give him the dot, and he left with an injury in the first quarter. Now, somebody then took over that dot. I believe it was Bush that took over the dot in the second game, but there was concerns that Bush didn't necessarily want that he, as a rookie is trying to learn all he can learn, but also he has to then call in the plays to everybody else. I don't know if he's necessarily ready for that yet. I think we're all putting a lot on Devin Bush in the hopes that he was going to be, and I have no doubt that he'll be the guy that's roaming the field for a decade for us. But I think it's like Polamalu's first year. And it might be an unfair comparison to put him against one of the greatest that have ever played the game, but Polamalu's first year, he was not good. Everybody was, Steelers fans, the sky's falling with everything. They cry bust immediately. They're like, you don't know what he's doing. He looks confused. Well, he's a rookie. And I think everybody's putting a little bit too much on him. You want him to call the plays. You want him to do everything. That might not necessarily work. So with Bush, I think he just needs to learn and adapt to the position before you have him in there calling the plays. But the concern is that when the green dot person's on the field, either someone not comfortable or someone not on the field, the defense looks confused. They're looking around at each other, trying to figure out what's going on, and it's causing big plays to occur. So defensive communication, I think, is the big issue for the defense. Either somebody needs to figure something out, hand gesture it, do whatever you have to do, but get that play out to the defense so they can all read and understand it properly. I think even Bush said something today. It's about communication. So he's a rookie. He's trying to learn his thing, and the players he's looking around to are confused. That's a problem. So I'm not as concerned, surprisingly, about the Steelers' defense with the inclusion of Fitzpatrick in there. I think he is a one of those blue chip leader types. I think he honestly is the one that I'm not saying just adding him is going to completely change the whole defense, but it will help to have another playmaker out there. So now the offense, their problem is obviously Ben being out for the year is a huge concern, but I'm confident in Rudolph. I did hear that at Heinz Field there were a lot of people cheering when Ben left the game. This dude, arguably the greatest quarterback in Steelers history. Steelers fans are particularly fickle. They will just, it's always the best quarterback is the next quarterback. One of that mindset. I wouldn't write off Ben just yet. I mean, the dude won the everybody was writing off Ben, and he won the passing title last year. Now, you don't have to like Ben as a person. Ben has certainly gotten into enough trouble in his early years. I feel like he shook some of that off, but you don't have to like him as a person. I'm talking as strictly a quarterback. As a quarterback, he's one of the greatest to ever play the game. He's not the greatest to ever play the game, but he's one of the greatest to ever play the game, and he will be in the Hall of Fame. So writing him off, we'll see what Rudolph is. And then there's the same crowd that is like, oh, Rudolph's in, the season's over. It's not even worth playing. Let's give him, there's a reason why you play games. You play games to see what you got. And I'm curious to see what Rudolph has. I feel like he's going to have a pretty good season. I think he's going to be waiting in the wings to take the gig. And I mean, like I said, you can go back. I have other videos on here where I've made hot takes and opinions. Some of them have been right. Some of them have been wrong. So you can come back and laugh at this and say like, oh, he was wrong. Rudolph's a bum. But I think Rudolph is going to have a good season. And I think that pick that we're going to give Miami is at least, I'm going to say at worst 15. And I'm going to say, and when I mean worst case scenario for the Steelers, 15. I don't think the season's going to tank like everyone thinks it's going to tank. I really think they're going to put a competitive product out there. They were this close to winning that game against Seattle. Obviously, the New England game was a mess, but they were this close to winning that game against Seattle. They could have pulled it out, but I think the team's going to be in pretty good shape now. They seem to be all behind Rudolph. It's got to stay that way. The receivers have to get more open. Juju, for his part, they were putting, he needs to get a little bit better separation. Now he's probably being double covered and things like that, but every other receiver needs to think. Oh, and also, so I went over the good, I went over the bad, but as we're talking about receivers, let's get into the ugly, and that is Dante Moncrief. He can never play another down. Either put him on the IR or just cut him outright. There has to be a receiver on the street that is better than Dante Moncrief. I don't know if it's, he says he has a nagging finger injury. If he can't catch the ball, he can't be on the field. He gave up an interception, and, it'll go in the stat sheet forever as one of Rudolph's first NFL passes was an interception, but that was all Moncrief. It hit him right in the hands and bounced off him. He actually had 3 catches in the New England game for 7 yards. I don't even remember the 3 catches. I do remember the 4 drops he has, and now the 5 drops that he had. He never saw the field again after that 5th drop that caused the pick, and hopefully he'll never see the field again. Unfortunately, and I was high on Moncrief. I really thought Moncrief was going to have a good season. I'm wrong. I was wrong. I acknowledge being wrong. If Moncrief has a finger injury that he can't catch passes, he can't be on the field. And if he figures out how to catch the passes, I still wouldn't trust him to be on the field at this point. He's done nothing to prove he's worthy of his spot. He's not even a decoy because everyone knows that he's bad. So if they throw him the ball, they're going to key behind him waiting for that pick because he can't hold on to the ball. That's a problem. People are also condemning Ryan Switzer. They're saying if Switzer ain't out there for kicks and, he's doing his little 2-yard dump passes that he does, that's not really his fault as much as his personnel. They want him to be underneath. If they're going to throw him a 1 to 2 yard pass, the defensive back or the linebacker's already on him by the time he catches the ball. So that is not going to work. So you want him to break tackles and you want him to do all that stuff. He runs a 1 yard out almost every play to get that underneath throw, and Ben looks around and he finds him and he hits him for that 1 yard pass and he gains 1 yard. He's basically an extra running back in there, but you want to condemn his spot too. I'm not saying he's necessarily earned a spot, but he's earned a spot more than Moncrief has. Also, like I said, I appreciate the Steelers going out and getting Fitzpatrick via trade, but the people that want to bring in, Colin Kaepernick, Eric Berry, Des Bryant, all these people with a considerable amount of baggage. Now you can say that Kaepernick, I'll be honest, the stuff Kaepernick doesn't really bother. I know it bothers some people. It doesn't necessarily bother me. If he can play, he can play. I would have no problem with him playing, especially to stop this tired narrative of every time a quarterback gets injured, it's like, oh, Kaepernick. Let's call for him every time any quarterback gets injured anywhere. I would hope some team would give him a job just to end that. But if he gets a job, he's got to prove it. Now, this isn't the guy that led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. This is a guy that's 3 years removed from getting benched for Blaine Gabbert when he went 4 for 10 for 36 yards. So them talking about him like he's the second coming, and I'm not talking about his off-the-field stuff. I'm talking about his pure quarterback play. I wouldn't necessarily trust him that many years removed. Should he be blacklisted? No, but I don't think he's the greatest quarterback that everybody says he is. Now, in terms of Eric Berry, in terms of Des Bryant, Should there be a concern that neither of these two guys are on a football team currently? That of the 32 teams and all the jobs in the NFL, that there's no team that has reached out to sign Eric Berry, to sign Des Bryant? Is Des Bryant even healthy? Who's to say? Is Eric Berry even healthy? Who's to say? The concern is that Steelers could go out and sign these players tomorrow. Now, with Fitzpatrick, they don't necessarily need Eric Berry anymore, but say like a Des Bryant. It'd be fine to see Des Bryant, but Des Bryant has his own fair share of headaches, and, we just got away from that. So do you want then to have a player who's going to introduce potentially more headaches to it? And I think Des Bryant's got a little bit older and a little bit more mature, but that baggage was there, and it could still be there. So I would have concerns about bringing somebody like that in the fold. But I'm all for looking for a receiver. I don't expect the Steelers to make any more trades. They went big. It would be nice to see the Steelers have got Mike Gesicki in that trade with the Dolphins. If they had just had them keep their 4th round pick and take Gesicki off their hands, that would have been something to be considered. I'd be all for that too. But I feel that the Steelers do need another tight end. I don't think they're going to go out and trade for one, not anymore. But they should. They should find a tight end somewhere. There has to be somebody on free agency, I think. I'm not high on Xavier Grimble. And the concern with Vince McDonald is that he's good. They didn't use him in the New England game at all for some reason, but he's good. But then, he gets hurt. You're left with Grimble and Gentry's still raw. Grimble's not the guy. I don't think he's a second guy. I have concerns about him. But check this out. Let me know your thoughts on the Fitzpatrick deal, on your thoughts on the Steelers. Do you think they have a chance this year? I think they're going to have an all right season. Color me optimistic. I usually am. I get a hard time for it with the Steelers. I'm just not as woe as me with the Ben injury. I think Rudolph might have the goods. It'll be interesting to find out whether he does or not. Everybody's like, oh, we don't know what Rudolph's going to bring. Ben there, you can't really tell what Rudolph. Well, Ben's not there this year. It's all Rudolph. So Rudolph, the red zone reindeer, can he do it? I think he can. I think he's going to have a good season. And we're going to leave it on that note. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have you actually watched this far? If so, thank you. I'm going to be doing a little bit more videos. I took a couple of weeks off, just kind of bad planning and things that I wanted to do that I wasn't able to do. But for you regular watchers, I will be back soon. But let me know your thoughts on the state of the Steelers. Like, subscribe, like this video. Thanks for the one person that stuck around the entire time while I was talking. I didn't expect anyone to. It's just easier to do this than film a whole video, upload it. But thank you, and I'll see you soon.